This is Poland, a beautiful and historic Eastern European country. The sounds of traffic and the bustle of its citizens mask what happened almost 40 years ago. Poland was caught between the World War II crossfire of Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. Poland was the scene of many battles, which led to widespread destruction of the country. 40 years after the war was over, Poland was still rebuilding, this time under a foreign government. No one really paid attention or cared much about the new government because of the sense of stability it seemed to provide the Polish people. However, over those years, citizens became restless, living under the strict laws that the government had imposed. Yet no one had the courage to face the opposition and confront that government. Here we meet Lech Wałęsa, a man who wouldn't know what he started until much later, and someone who had an eerie encounter one night in the countryside in which he lived. He crossed paths with an owl that eerily resembled him. The two locked eyes for a long while, trying to figure each other out. Then, suddenly, the owl took off with a flock of other birds and formed these elaborate shapes in the sky that Lech had never seen before. Their formation was equally free-flowing as it was intentional, with a sense of never-ending vigor. These shapes he saw overtook his mind and manifested into words that he had to write down. The next morning, he wrote those words in the form of a poem and sent it to the local newspaper, Solidarity, to be published. And because the people in Poland read the newspaper quite regularly, Lech's piece was starting to spread around. The words that Lech so beautifully wrote awakened deep thoughts in people across the country. Many felt these were the words they needed to finally push back against their oppressive government. Groups of people started to form throughout the country, each of which was mesmerized by Lech's words. One woman recited them in public to spread his poem to the masses because she knew that these words of wisdom would help others see the way that she now saw the world herself. The government noticed these small groups of people starting to form, and they tried to censor the poem and the newspaper it was published in. But it was too late. People had already started to make copies of the poem and spread them far and wide throughout the country. Soon, people stopped working their jobs. Public transportation stopped, and shipyards were left empty. Parts of the country soon took on a regular movement in massive shapes of people, like those birds that Lech had seen, moving as one towards the town centers in cities throughout the country. And just as the birds were free moving, the people wanted to be free moving as well, conveying what they wanted and what they wanted to do together. They walked en masse, reciting the words of Lech towards the buildings of their oppressors, never intended to hurt or incite violence towards them, though. Their oppressors were infuriated that the workers were not returning to their jobs, and no one was participating in the society. And the government did take violent acts upon those masses, such as trying to separate them with hoses and gunfire and gas. But nothing seemed to work. The mobs would always regain their shape. They never backed down. The masses of people always came back stronger and more passionate with the same goal of regaining their stake as Polish citizens. This mass movement soon won over the government with its collective, unfaltering mindset, and the government ceded their power back to the people. And the people of Poland rejoiced as their collaborative mindset won out over their oppressor. They may not know where their journey will ultimately take them, but they believe in the thoughts of those around them. These masses of people were just like the masses of birds Lek first saw, a formation that was equally free-flowing as it was intentional, with a sense of never-ending vigor. And, like the birds, they may at times become separated, but they will always find each other again, or at least find others who are on the same journey as they are. All they needed was a push to generate the momentum needed to transform Poland forever.